So he trusts them. He goes up there. They get into the chalet. Meanwhile, Ellie's still trying to find them. The battle's going on. So Joel, they get in the chalet, and this is where it was really got really. It was just really hard to take, and um, I got to say, like, this is I. If you're a real fan of the show, you're gonna cry. Like I cried. Now I'm an emotional guy. Television makes me cry. Movies make me cry. Moments make me cry. Two actors having a moment. I was watching White Lotus, and there was a real amazing moment where these two actors like connected, and the one of the actress in the moment was just like made me cry. I was like, oh man, a tear came. Like she's amazing. Um, but like this really was hard for me. So Joel gets in there and he's like super like, okay, cool. He's like, all right, can you guys shoot? Like he walks into this room with these junior leaguers and he's like, okay, whoa, all right, cool. All right, you guys have your guns, let's go. We're gonna get out there. And Abby, she starts getting herself together. They start trying to warm Dean up. They start being nice. And Joel's like, okay, we got 5 minutes. Let's go. Let's, help me. He thinks that they're cool. He automatically doesn't even think that, which is not like this character. But if they hadn't been now, if they hadn't been doing what they were doing to him through therapy and Ellie yelling at him and softening him up, I would not have accepted the fact that he walks into this trap, but he did. So I could accept it. So Abby, who is the worst bad guy ever, all of a sudden is just super evil, and she's like, hey, 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 hey. No. I guess my issue is that a character what this character did was like Negan in Walking Dead. If you know Negan's intro, you should know by now. It's been years, but the Negan character was introduced. He came in and he murdered two substantial, one of the main characters and then another kind of substantial side character. He came in and brutally murdered them in front of the group in order to show dominance and prove a point that like you're all, the point was survival of the fittest. If I can do this to you, you're not fit. That was Negan. Negan was like, if you're strong, you beat me, we're cool. I'm the strongest. So it was kind of so in a weird way, Negan had a point for his viciousness. And later on, you realize that it was just something that he thought was the best way to keep himself and his group alive, right? That's just the law of the jungle. So what he did was super brutal, but his character, like he had been doing it for a while, he just didn't show up and do it. This Abby character, they want you to think that she could go from not killing anybody. Now, they don't necessarily say this is her first murder, but this kind of murder is not something you do like the first time and do it like this. So she's the worst bad guy, and that's why I'm giving it 4.5 stars instead of instead of 5, because she just wasn't. It wasn't the best bad guy appearance for me. I'm being hard, but so I'm just it's just really hard for me to even talk about it. So she turns around and then she's like, do you know who I am? Then she turns into this evil person that is just not consistent. So now she's evil, but it's not coming out to me. And then so they grab Dina, put a gun to her head, and Joel's like, right away, he grabs his gun. He knows he's in a thing. And they're like, who do you think we are? And then they start doing this quiz with him. 20 questions. Made no sense. Like in that moment, you're not doing 20 questions with a guy that's that dangerous. Joel's super dangerous. Keep in mind, Joel's very dangerous. He's as dangerous as they are. And if he had any indicators, he would have killed them before this. But his guard was down. And he was worried about Dina, which was his weakness. And so they got Dina by the neck, and the guy's got a gun. He's like, Now everybody's the junior Fireflies wearing all the Gap clothes are now just the vicious people, which 4.5 because this just didn't work for me. So they got her, and she's like, she's already like fucked up because of the frostbite, and she's like, "Oh," and then Abby's like, let's put our plan into motion, which made no sense. So then they had like a syringe waiting to put Abby out. I'm sorry, put Dina out. Made no sense. And so she orders Dina to be injected with something, and then she tells one of the ladies, one of the junior fireflies, and she's like, "Wait a second," and she's like, "If you don't do it, I'm just gonna hit her in the head." So they inject her, and Joel's like, so Dina knows, like, I can't, no. And Joel's like, and then they basically say, Joel, I'm gonna, and then I think Abby says to him, if you want her to live, she does this. I'll give you that. And so he's like, go to sleep. He's like, again, Joel being self-sacrificing. So they give her an injection. She's out. Works really fast, right? You know, again, in that kind of a situation, Dina's a fighter, Joel's a fighter. I guess what was weird for me is that two people like this would never just roll over. You wouldn't. If you're Joel, you're fighting because you're in a situation where you know this person, clearly she's like, her intention is to murder you. And then when he realizes, oh, this is revenge, it's too late. But there's no way a guy like him wouldn't try to fight out and like, look, if Dina died, like, we're dying anyway. There's no way. But for some reason, he gives in. And then Abby, out of nowhere, pulls out a shotgun and shoots Joel in the leg, which I was like, no way. Like, no. That when that happened, I realized this is bad. Like, so that shotgun to the knee was like, minute I thought this, okay, now they're gonna amputate his leg. Like, then I thought, okay, so you're thinking these things as you're watching it. And I'm like, okay, so now this character is gonna be on a, like, limping, what? Like, because that was too brutal. Like, you're not, and they don't have a hospital. You're not coming back from that. And then he goes down and he's like, struggling, and he's screaming, not crying, but he's like, it's very painful. And then Abby orders them to put a tourniquet on him, which is very painful for him. And then she bends down and starts doing this monologue that really was not the best acting monologue. And look, she's getting paid the big bucks, so I'm going to critique her. And I hate critiquing actors, but I just didn't like how she delivered it. So she starts quizzing him. Do you remember who my daddy was? And he's like, what? And it was frustrating to me to just listen to that. It was really frustrating because you're like, what? But you don't think he's going to get killed. You think, okay, he's going to get rescued or whatever. We'll figure this out. So then they do a quick little flashback where they show you the actual video of him killing the dad, which happened to be the doctor. Now, Joel walked in and he was so freaked out that he did kill the doctor unarmed. So this revenge that he was getting was because he did kill an unarmed guy that he could have let live. Sure. I mean, whatever. But there was an indicator that, that was like unnecessary, but he was like, he went in just like he was going hard. So she keys him in that this is my dad. And you could see Pedro Pascal as the actor, like, reflecting, okay, yeah, that I did do that. Like, you could see it like, okay, oh, wow. So you could see him kind of understanding why he was in this predicament. But it's a lot going on for everybody. You, him, we're all freaking out here. So she gets down, bends down, and she's doing this little, I've been dreaming about this moment. The writing was bad and the delivery was even worse. So she started off, like, when she shot him, you're like, oh my God, you're like, you're in it. Then she bends down and starts quizzing him, and you're like, this is what? Then she starts doing this monologue, and then you're like, that's a little much. Okay. And it lost me. And I was like, can you really just shut up? Really? And it really, that's what I said to the TV. It was like, it took me out of it because I'm like, this is a very serious moment. And then her acting just didn't, but it could have been the editing, right? Maybe she had some great takes and they took them out. So just whatever. So she says this monologue, and then it was interesting. So it was interesting. So Joel's like sitting there, like, he's like not fighting back. Now, to me, she was so close to him. He could have hurt her. He could have, but then, he dies. I mean, obviously he's not going to survive, but he could have, I thought he was going to he could have grabbed her and started choking her. It didn't make any sense that she'd get that close and not be that worried about it. And he would, but again, he was shot in the leg. So there's this sense of like, okay, now the truth is, well, I'll say this: we get used to in movies and TV, we get used to people getting shot in the arm and like, and then they shake it off, right? Shot in the leg, we're fine. They shake it off, right? Sword fighting, they get cut in the stomach, shake it off, still fight. That's not real life. You get shot in the arm, you're not moving. You're dropping down, you're holding your arm. If it hits a nerve, you're completely paralyzed. If the bullet hits a serious artery, you're bleeding out, just even in the arm, right? Especially if you get, like the old, I get shot in the chest here, but I'm fine, super, tough guy thing. That's not real life. So we're going to take the liberty and say, okay, her shotgun blasting him in the leg and the knee, shredding his knee. Now, they didn't show a mangled leg, but they did show like a knee that was bloody-ish, shredded. So you get the picture. So that would be pretty incapacitating. So we can go with that he's like, he doesn't have the strength. And they tourniqueted his leg, which is super painful. Like, so they're, but they didn't have him like restrained. They just was like, he's on the ground. She starts talking shit to him. And then it moves on to like, she's like, this is it for you. And as the audience, you're like, what? And so she looks over and sees like somehow golf clubs are like sitting there. And you're like, you got to be kidding me. And she gets up and walks, and she's still monologuing, and she walks over to the golf clubs. And Joel says what we're all thinking: can you just shut the fuck up and get on with it? Which was super gangster. That's what I would have done. Honestly, I know. I say that. But I would have been, can you just shut up and do what you're going to do? Don't monologue. Like, so his message was, you're evil. What you say doesn't matter. You're a piece of garbage. So just do it. You're not worth it to me, and I don't need your voice in my ears. Stop talking. I loved that moment. That's when Joel came back. That's when he's like, just do it. Because he realized, okay, again, law of the jungle. So I loved how they did that. I mean, they did him wrong. The whole thing was stupid. Him being killed by a teenager, honestly, or a 20-year-old, whatever. I just didn't. It just wasn't. It wasn't formidable. Like, we'll get to that in a second. But it just wasn't the coolest ending. It's just for a guy like that, for that character. That's why I was really upset. So she walks over to the golf clubs. She grabs an 8 or something. I was like trying to figure out, in the moment, I'm like, what? Like, they do focus on the golf, and that's why I'm wearing a golf. That is why spoiler alert, that's why I put on a golf hat, because essentially she killed him with a golf club. Not essentially, she actually did. So she gets a golf club out, walks over, and starts hacking his leg. And it's like, and you can see all these Firefly guys. They're kind of like, what? Oh my God. And then the boyfriend's like, oh my God, we should, but they're letting her just do it, which doesn't make any sense to me that this person would have that kind of power over people. But, people do. Like, there are cult members that are, most cult leaders, this is kind of a little death cult, essentially, because they were organized and they were looking for Joel for 5 years to kill him. So, she's like, I'm dreaming of this day. She's obsessed with murder, but that doesn't make it easy to do, just if you're obsessed with it. But anyway, so the character just made it seem too easy that she was able, and then her choice of weapon, and she knew exactly how to kill him. Unless they give us this background that she's some fucking psycho, it just seemed too psychotic for somebody that had never killed before to just go to that level, but whatever. So, and she just didn't seem like a killer, but she is now. So she gets the golf, she starts hacking away. And everybody's like, and she like starts hacking at his leg. Now, I thought she was going to dismember his leg, right? And I'm like, no, oh my God. And when that started happening, I started getting really like, no, man, like it was way too much. It was like, well, he's not walking again. So you knew Joel's character, what you knew going into this, he's not coming out in one piece. And you're like thinking, oh my God, how are they going to get through this, right? And, She keeps doing it. So cut to Ellie. She's tracking. She finds the place, goes in, sneaks in. She starts hearing the noise, and then they go back, and by now there's some time has passed, and she has beat him to a pulp. And then she's just punching him, and she breaks she had been beating him with a golf club all over, and he's just a mess. He's a bloody mess. And at this point, he's been taking so many blows to the head. His head is swollen, and in fact, his eye is swollen shut. He's purple. He's black and blue. Real terrible. And in fact, after the end of the episode, they did the behind the scenes. The makeup guy was talking about how they had to make it seem like his brain was swollen. Like this beating he was taking was a murder. Like she was intending to murder him. But you're not sure. You're kind of like, okay, is she just going to really mess him up? And then we're going to cut to a scene of him like being in the basement. Or, are they going to stretch this out over episodes? But no. So she continues to beat him. So by the time Ellie gets in there, he's pretty much almost dead, right? But he can like look, his eyes moving, and he's like moving a finger. And so Ellie, you're just like, you think Ellie's going to save him, man. So Abby's back is to the door. Ellie opens the door. She hears all the chaos. She sees, oh my God, Joel's getting beat down by this little chick. She rushes in. Now, I was mentioning this earlier. Somehow somebody's behind the door, takes her down. Oh no, and puts her on the ground. She's now captured too. Her face is on the ground. It's very Walking Dead. It's very similar to Glenn, where he's like trying to say I love you, and you could almost, this is where Pedro's so good. You could feel what he was saying to Ellie. So Ellie's on the ground. She's crying. She's seeing he's dying. She's like, just don't kill him. She's like begging for his life, which made you cry. Like that was it. I lost it. Because I'm begging for his life too. I'm like, don't kill him, please. And so but again, Abby, she's just the worst bad guy. She just could, like this as an actress, I just didn't see her with the skill set to really own this. Like she just didn't seem that lethal, even though she was doing a lethal thing. She just wasn't giving me that lethality. It's different, right? Versus like doing it versus being it. So she's just like, screw you, I'm going to kill him. And then, or maybe it's just the way they did it. I don't know. Maybe the editing. But still, it's kind of taking me out, but I'm crying a minute. So you have this scene where they're parallel on the ground and they're looking at each other like 20 feet, 15 feet. She's crying. She's begging for his life, not hers. You could see him looking at her and moving a finger, and you could feel the actor. You could feel what he was saying. You could feel that he was saying, I love you. You could feel that. Like it was just like, I'm starting to get like emotional. You could feel it. And that's why he's so good. Even through the makeup, like you could feel that moment. Like sometimes in acting, the actor doesn't even have to say it. You feel it. And so you see the golf club had been broken in half. There's a really nasty looking piece there, really dangerous looking. And then Abby grabs it and she's like, oh, you want me to keep him alive? Watch this. And she sticks it in his neck. It was hard, and murders him. Now, by then he's already pretty much murdered before that, but that's it. And so it was not how I wanted to end my night. It was not what I was expecting. They kill him. And I mean, I'm still disgusted. I'm disgusted. I'm still processing it. I understand they're copying the video game, and maybe that's exactly how it goes down. But I just hated it.